What happens when a startup convinces Disney, Walmart, and the US Army using technology that never actually worked? In less than 4 years, this company raised billions of dollars. It secured military contracts, it impressed billionaire executives, and it promised to reinvent the future of augmented reality. The problem? Most of the technology was a carefully staged illusion. Investors believed it, employees believed it, even experienced engineers believed it, because the story was too perfect to seem fake. But there's one disturbing detail in this story. The scam didn't begin with greed, it began with a genuine dream, and by the end of this video, you'll understand the exact moment ambition turned into fraud. The company was called Magic Leap, and for years people treated it like the next Apple. The augmented reality market was exploding. Companies dreamed about replacing smartphones with smart glasses. The concept sounded like science fiction. You'd wear a headset, and digital objects would appear in the real world. It was like turning every room into an interactive video game. The founder was Ronnie Abovitz, a charismatic entrepreneur, visionary, obsessed with futurism. He sounded like a mix between Tony Stark and Steve Jobs. And investors loved it, because at that time, Silicon Valley was addicted to impossible promises. The logic was simple. If Tesla once seemed impossible and succeeded, then anything seemed possible. The startup raised over $2 billion. Yes, billions. Among the investors were Google, Alibaba Group, and even funds connected to the Saudi government. The company operated almost like a secret society. Very few people were allowed to see the product. Employees signed extremely strict contracts. Visitors were monitored. And that secrecy only increased the hype. Then came the video that changed everything. In a viral demonstration, a massive whale jumped through a school gym using the company's headset. The internet exploded. There was only one problem. That wasn't what the real product looked like. In 2016, employees started noticing something strange. The internal demos worked perfectly, but only inside highly controlled environments. Whenever important investors visited, entire teams prepared every detail manually. The lighting had to be perfect. The user's position had to be exact, and in many cases, scenes were partially pre-rendered. It was like selling a self-driving car, while secretly pushing it downhill. According to former employees, many engineers began questioning internally whether the technology was truly viable. But the pressure never stopped, because billions had already been invested. Then things became even worse. The product started being presented to strategic partners. Executives at the Walt Disney Company imagined futuristic theme parks. Walmart envisioned workers using augmented reality inside smart warehouses. And the US Army imagined soldiers guided by holographic systems. But internally, the situation was chaotic. The headset was heavy, it overheated constantly, the field of view was tiny. Many users felt dizzy after only a few minutes. And there was one devastating detail. Most of the promises simply didn't work outside the lab. A report from the information revealed that employees described the product as years away from the company's marketing claims. In 2018, the company finally released the product publicly. Its name was Magic Leap 1. The price, around $2,300. Expectations were massive. The result was a disaster. Sales were painfully low. Reports suggested only a few thousand units were sold, far below internal expectations. The press finally tested the product without restrictions, and the reviews were brutal. The future hasn't arrived yet. Limited experience. Impressive technology, but unfinished. Then, investors started asking questions. Where did the billions go? Where were the users? Where was the revolution they were promised? Internally, employees described absurd management decisions. Entire departments competed against each other. Goals changed weekly. Prototypes were abandoned after years of development. One former employee described it perfectly. It felt like a company trying to invent the future without knowing what it was building. Soon, massive layoffs began. Hundreds of employees were fired. Military projects slowed down. Strategic partners quietly disappeared. And the startup that promised to change the world started fighting for survival. The most shocking part, even after clear signs of failure, many investors still believed. Because admitting the mistake meant admitting that billions had been burned on a fantasy. It was like building 5 massive stadiums, only to discover none had foundations. Then came the revelation that explained everything. The company never solved the core technical challenge of augmented reality, creating convincing wide-field digital images inside a lightweight headset. That was the heart of the promise, and that heart never worked the way it was advertised. The entire strategy depended on one dangerous bet: raise billions first, solve the technology later. But the marketing grew faster than the engineering, much faster. In leaked internal interviews, employees admitted that some demonstrations were carefully choreographed. Investors saw specific experiences, limited experiences, but they believed they were seeing the finished future. And here's the most important detail: the fraud was never one giant lie. It was a chain of escalating exaggerations. Each funding round required bigger promises. Each promise created more pressure, and that pressure pushed the company further away from reality. In the end, Magic Leap became the symbol of an entire Silicon Valley era, an era where telling a great story mattered more than delivering a working product. The company went through deep restructuring, massive layoffs, strategic pivots, desperate attempts to survive. Today, Magic Leap still exists, but it's smaller, much quieter. Its focus shifted toward medical and enterprise applications. Nothing like the world-changing revolution originally promised. Meanwhile, giants like Apple and Meta platforms are still trying to solve the exact same technical problems, which reveals something important. Maybe the idea itself was never impossible. Maybe the timing was. In Silicon Valley, there's a famous phrase, "Fake it until you make it." But the story of Magic Leap reveals the danger behind that mindset. Because there's an invisible line between vision and illusion. Millions believed in that company. Some lost their jobs, others lost billions, and everything began with one simple question: what if this actually works? Now I want your opinion. Which company do you think is repeating this same mistake today? Write it in the comments. And if you enjoy stories about billion-dollar companies, corporate frauds, and technology spiraling out of control, subscribe to the channel, because the next case somehow gets even crazier.